Speaking of books, joining me now, Corey Lewandowski, senior advisor, Trump-Pence 2020 campaign. Got a spring in his step because all the numbers moving in our direction. His new book comes out tomorrow, Trump, America First. The President Succeeds Against All Odds. You can get it on Amazon or your favorite bookstore. And it comes out tomorrow, the day of the first debate between Biden and Trump. Corey, timing is everything, right?
Well, John, hey, sometimes what they say is better to be lucky than good, and I've been pretty lucky sometimes. I've been pretty good sometimes, too, and maybe it's a little bit of both.
Well, I tell you what, I can't wait. I pre-ordered 3 copies of it. I can't wait till it comes out. It's going to be a New York Times bestseller, Corey, and but it comes out tomorrow, so you can get it on Amazon or your favorite bookstore or whatever. But the main thing is you want to get Trump, America First, The President Succeeds Against All Odds by Corey Lewandowski and Dave Bossie. Corey, wow, a lot going on this weekend. Let's start with Amy Coney Barrett, the president's, I think, great choice. I'm a Catholic, obviously, so I'm excited about it. Great choice for SCOTUS. What do you think? How do you think it'll go?
You know, John, I had the opportunity to be at the White House on Saturday when the president nominated Amy Coney Barrett. I had the chance to speak with him about some of the qualified nominees as he was making his decision. And this president knew that picking Amy was going to be a fight because the left wants to put a litmus test in place, which is, what is your religion? And let me just remind the listeners that the Constitution of the United States under Article 6 clearly prohibits a religious test for any person who is serving in a federal government capacity. You're not allowed to ask their religion. You're not allowed to question their religion. It's in the Constitution in Article 6. But it doesn't matter, because when you're Dianne Feinstein and you're Chuck Schumer and you're Dick Durbin, you don't have to listen to the Constitution. So if the litmus test of if Amy is a qualified jurist to sit on the bench is because she's a Catholic like I am, then let's go have that fight, because they all know that she is one of the greatest legal minds of our generation. They know that she has the jurisprudence to sit on the high court. They know that her rulings in the past, her education, her credentials are impeccable. So they're going to attack this woman, not just on her religion, John, which to me is disgusting. The new line of attack against Amy Coney Barrett is that she has school-age children. And how could she possibly have a work-life balance that will allow her with 7 children to sit on the high court? Are you kidding me right now? That's what the Democrats are going after, is the fact that she's the mother of school-age children. It is so preposterous, so outrageous. They just show, their backside every single time. These people are disgusting to me.
Well, and look, the bottom line is they're going to attack her because, Corey, they have to because of their base. I mean, a lot of these Democrats might be somewhat reasonable, but they're petrified of getting a primary challenge when they come up in either in the next cycle in 2022. If they don't toe the line with the Black Lives Matter and the other atheist radicals they've got in the mobs. So that's part of the issue. That's why there's no statesmanship anymore, except for Joe Manchin, because he's protected, right? He just won again. So he's good till 2024. But other than that, the Democrats in the Senate are petrified of the squad and the others. So they have to toe the line, and they become basically a mouthpiece to the mobs.
Yeah, but John, what about guys like Doug Jones in Alabama, okay? Realistically, this guy's election is over, okay? He's not going to win again, so go vote your conscience. And look, in my home state of New Hampshire, Jean Shaheen is on the ballot in 5 weeks from tomorrow. I need her to justify why Amy Coney Barrett is not qualified to sit on the high court. I want her to explain to the people of New Hampshire what qualifications she doesn't have. She is a partisan hack in New Hampshire. Corky Metzner can beat her on this issue alone. They continue to pull the rank and file, pull the party line, John. And to me, they've politicized the court. I hear these Republican senators around the country saying, well, I don't want to consider a court nominee this close to an election. Well, what day do you get to stop doing your job? What day have you decided that, hey, I'm just not going to provide the advice and consent as required by the Constitution because I'm too close to an election? Is that 20 days out? Is it 50? Is it 100? Is it 200? What day do you stop taking your paycheck? Because we're paying you every single day. So go do your friggin' job and stop whining. If you don't want to be a U.S. Senator, then don't run for re-election.
What realistic chance does Corey Messner have in New Hampshire? Honestly, Corey.
Well, I'll tell you this: Donald Trump is going to win New Hampshire. He lost the state 4 years ago by just under 2,800 votes. Our team is much more unified. We've got a better team. Joe Biden has not either A, been to New Hampshire, or B, sent a physical surrogate into our state since he has become the Democratic nominee, I believe. They have not knocked on one door in the state of New Hampshire. So Corky Messner's fate of being in the United States Senate is going to be tied to the success of Donald Trump. And right now, every day, he looks more and more like he can win this race because Jeanne Shaheen, she is one person when she's in Washington, D.C. She's very different when she's back in New Hampshire. She says she wants to work across the aisle, did not vote for Kavanaugh, did not vote for Gorsuch, is not going to vote for Amy Coney Barrett, and cannot point to one signature piece of legislation that she has accomplished in her 12 years in the United States Senate. It's shameful, and it's time for change.
John Fredericks Radio Network. We're with Corey Lewandowski. His new book out tomorrow. I'm so excited about it. I pre-ordered it. Trump, America First, the President Succeeds Against All Odds. His book coming out on Tuesday, the day of the first debate. As Corey said, sometimes things just happen. Corey Lewandowski and Dave Bossie, get on Amazon. Again, Trump, America First. Corey, look, same thing is happening here in Virginia. We had a rally on Friday night. This was unbelievable. They expected like 3,500 to 5,000. We got 14,000 people at a hangar in Newport News on a Friday night when half the day it rained hard. I mean, the turnout, we were turning people away at the door. We had, it was a tremendous enthusiasm. We had people lined up starting at 4:30 a.m. there at the hangar. And Biden has no organization in Virginia. We got 6,000 people, trained volunteers. We've knocked on 320,000 doors. They haven't knocked on any. They're afraid they will not go out. This seems to be happening in more places. I mean, Virginia is now in play, as is New Hampshire. Corey.
John, the last public poll shows that Donald Trump is down 5 points in New Hampshire. And let me tell you something. This guy is a closer, okay? Mm-hmm. He's the guy you want at the bottom of the ninth inning with 2 outs and the bases loaded and the full count. You want him to come in and pitch that final pitch, okay? He is this just who he is. He's the Iceman. And, look, we are on the offense in places like Virginia and in Nevada and in New Hampshire and in Minnesota. All places where Donald Trump didn't win in 2016, but now the people see his record and want to join him. We're seeing this everywhere. And the huge issue in the state of Virginia, John, and you know it because you live there, is the issue of the Second Amendment. The fact that these legislators at the state level are going to take your guns away. And look, it's a great issue because it is also in the Constitution that you have the right to keep and bear arms. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, if they get elected, will confiscate your guns very likely. They will push through legislation that they say, quote, unquote, bans assault weapons and automatic weapons. John, I'm so tired of the rhetoric. The truth is, do you know how many people own automatic weapons or what are technically defined as Class 3 weapons? Almost nobody, because you have to go through the ATF, you have to get a transfer tax, or you have to have what is called an FFL, or a federal firearms license, which is a very difficult thing to obtain, and it should be. But the rhetoric is there. Oh, we don't need assault weapons. We don't need military weapons. You know what? Most weapons, John, and whether they look scary or not, whether they're an AR-15 or a pistol, you squeeze the trigger one time, and what happens is one bullet is deployed through the barrel. That's how it works, but that's not the rhetoric you get from the left. Donald Trump is going to protect your right to keep and bear arms, and it puts us on the offense in the state of Virginia.
John Fredericks Radio Network. Look, I think you're going to win New Hampshire. I think we got a shot in Virginia, but you're right. The president is closing. Let's get to the debate tomorrow night, Corey. The expectations laid out by the fake news media is basically this: if Joe Biden shows up and says his name and knows where he is, he wins. So the expectations are set, the bar is set low. What do you look for, Corey, tomorrow night?
Look, I look for the president to remind the American people of exactly what he promised 4 years ago and exactly what he's accomplished, because that's what he's been doing. Now, our message doesn't get out because the mainstream media doesn't want to articulate that. They don't want to give the president the credit that he's deserved. But in under 47 months, which the president has been sitting in office, he has accomplished more than Joe Biden in 47 years. And Joe Biden is going to have to look, I think Joe's going to show up for the debate. I think he's going to be lucid. The media is going to say that he was a great debater. But the American people are going to watch this. And they're going to watch and see that this president has delivered. And Joe Biden had his chance for almost 5 decades to solve America's problems, and he failed. He failed time and time again, whether it was on foreign policy. Look, let's talk about the Middle East peace deal from 2 weeks ago, a historic deal, the first peace deal in 26 years, and the president got it done. Let's talk about rebuilding our military, which Barack Obama and Joe Biden left depleted, that when Donald Trump came in, 66% of our fighter planes couldn't fly because the military was so depleted. Let's talk about our economic engine. This president created more jobs in the first 4 years than Barack Obama ever did. And let me tell you what Joe Biden's going to say. They're going to say they inherited a terrible economy from George W. Bush, and that Donald Trump inherited an amazing economy from them. John, you can't have it both ways. And that's what Joe Biden's going to have to understand. You can't say everything was bad before you and everything was great after you, when it's just not the truth. The numbers don't lie. Under Donald Trump's administration, it was the lowest unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, 20-year low for unemployment rate for veterans, lowest ever for females. That's because of the policies that Donald Trump put in place. That's what's going to be on full display tomorrow night. You know what?
The other thing is about tomorrow, Corey, is the Biden campaign. He has no issues. Every issue that he has, he's on the downside of it. If you look at any polls, that's why he's not announced who any of his Supreme Court picks would be. That's why they don't want to talk about China. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what exactly policies is Biden going to lay out tomorrow.
He's going to lay out the policies of the far left because he needs them. And, John, those policies include, but are clearly not limited to, the fact that he wants to defund the police. Now, Joe isn't going to want to say that. He's going to say it's not true, but his words do matter. And look at the Sunday shows going in yesterday. Who did the Biden campaign put out? Jill. They didn't put out Joe. They didn't put out Kamala. They put out Jill Biden as their surrogate to go out and talk about what Joe's going to do. So, look, Joe has to come and he's going to have to explain why he called African-American males predators from the Senate floor. He's going to have to explain why he asked an African-American reporter, "Are you on crack?" Right? This is not faux pas. These are not mistakes. This is the mindset of Joe Biden. He's going to have to remind everybody why he said, "Hey, if you're a Democrat and you don't vote for me, you ain't black." Okay? That's who Joe Biden is. And you contrast that with what President Trump has done for the African-American community, whether it's empowerment zones, it's the First Step Act, it's criminal justice reform. He has done more for the African-American community in 4 years than the Biden team has done in 50. And we know that. Joe's going to have to defend his record. I predict he's going to be lucid. He's going to know where he is. He's going to have a couple one-liners. And he has a very friendly media that will try and attack this president, and Joe's going to call him a liar. And the truth is, the American people are going to see right through it.
I think you're right. Corey Lewandowski with us. His book coming out tomorrow. The timing of this book is unbelievable. Trump America First comes out the day of the debate. Not planned. It just comes out that day. The President Succeeds Against All Odds. You can get it at Amazon, your favorite bookstore. Get it now. I've already ordered 3 copies. Can't wait. Trump America First. Corey, let me ask you something else. The New York Times leaking the president's business tax returns going back to 2015, 2014, 16. 2 questions. The first is, who the hell cares? The second is, if you take advantage of the tax loopholes that Congress has passed, how is that a story?
Well, John, the 2 components of this. Number one, Dean Baguette, who is the editor of the New York Times, has been on the record saying that he was willing to go to jail to get Donald Trump's tax returns. By the way, it is a felony to release someone's tax returns. There is no First Amendment right to release someone's tax returns if you get them, okay? It is a clear felony, and I hope the federal government looks at this and puts Dean in jail for this. He's been on the record saying, if I get Donald Trump's tax returns, I'm willing to go to jail because I want them published. You know what a person's tax returns say? They say how much money you made and spent in a given year. And here's my issue, John, and the president's been very forward on this. When he was in the private sector, he was creating jobs in the private sector. He had the Trump Organization. He was signing the front of paychecks to employ all these people. He had an obligation to his family and to his employees. to pay the least amount of taxes as possible so he could create as many jobs as possible. See, Joe Biden wouldn't know anything about that because he's been a government employee his whole life, and he's been signing the back of a paycheck to cash it as opposed to the front of a paycheck to give it to somebody. So, look, as a small business owner myself, John, you are the same way. Every possible opportunity to take advantage of the tax code within the confines of the law, I think every business owner tries to do, because I want my family, the people who I go out and fight for every day, to have more money in their bank accounts. And if that says that I can deduct something or I can do something and the law allows it, then we should do it. And if he took advantage of a broken system, then by all means he should be cheered for it, not criticized for it. And if you don't like the way the system is, Joe Biden wrote the laws. 15 years of writing these laws. So it's Joe's fault if that's the issue.
Incredible. I mean, I would like to see one of these Democrats like Bezos or somebody, or Michael Bills, or any of them that are didn't take advantage of doing their taxes and taking advantage of every loophole that Congress has written in, and then say, you know what, I'm not paying enough. Let me send you another, I don't know, $500,000. Nobody does that. I mean, you basically...
Hey, John, we've offered it. Yeah, like when Warren Buffett, okay, the Oracle of Omaha, as they call him, says,
right,
my secretary pays a higher effective tax rate than I do, and that's shameful. Say, hey, Warren, go write a check to the federal government if you're so concerned. There's nothing that stops you from scratching out a check for $1 billion or $2 billion if you feel like you haven't been taxed enough already. But nobody does it, John. It's the hypocrisy of the left. Donald Trump took advantage of the tax system. So does every person in America. I have never come across a person, John, ever, never, who says, boy, you know what? I really wish I could give the federal government more money to waste as opposed to putting it in my family's bank account. Never.
Well, and it never will happen. And so this is why this whole thing is ridiculous. But for the New York Times to get the taxes, the only entity that has taxes is somebody at the Internal Revenue Service, right?
Well, that's right.
Otherwise, it would be somebody inside the Trump organization that prepared him. Other than that, those would be the only two entities, let's call it an entity, that has them. So if they got sent to the New York Times, likely, right, somebody from the Internal Revenue Service, whose their job is to guide these through or whatever, got it out of file and sent it over there. Is that not illegal?
John, it's 100% illegal. It's 100% a felony. And what we have seen in the past is when people's information has been released by members of the Treasury or the Internal Revenue Service as an investigation, those people are held accountable, because everybody, regardless of your party affiliation, should have the same right to privacy that every other American has. And look, there has to be an investigation of how these were released. And I don't care that the New York Times is a newspaper of record, John. It does not preclude you from breaking the law. And that's the truth. And Dean Baguette, who is a dirtbag at the New York Times, has been very clear that he will do anything he can to destroy this president. You know, it's amazing, John. The people who own the New York Times technically own 1% of the shares of the common shares, but they own 70% of the controlling shares. So these guys are on their fifth generation of running this paper into the ground, is what they've been doing. And they pretend they're supposed to be this non-biased source. They are the worst of the worst, John.
John Fredericks Radio Network. Corey, it is unbelievable. We talk about the deep state, but it exists because now you got people in the Internal Revenue Service sending Trump's tax returns to the New York Times, which, I mean, if they find out who this person or entity is, like you say, I mean, this is a felony. You're going to jail. You can't have this. But I mean, evidently they think they're going to be protected somehow, or pardoned, or nobody will find them out, or something of that nature. But it's incredible to me that this continues to go on. Corey, final thing, we both know him, only got about a minute. Brad Parscale, friend of yours, friend of mine, former Trump campaign manager, hospitalized on suicide watch. He's in our prayers, certainly. Do you know anything, any specifics on that?
You know, John, I'll tell you, this is something that really hits home for me. You know, I've worked with Brad. I hired Brad 5 years ago. I've worked with him very, very closely. And, you know, to think that your only solution is suicide or hurting yourself or hurting others should be a wake-up call for all of us, because, hey, John, politics is a blood sport, but it doesn't mean you have to feel in such a position that you can't go on to live anymore because of what's happened to you or what people have said about you or the way the media treats you. And maybe, just maybe, first and foremost, we've got to get Brad help. And that's the most important thing. And our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, because anybody who's in that space needs help. But maybe just this will tone down the rhetoric a little bit. I don't know. But it's scary, John. It's scary that someone had to think that their only solution, their only out, was to potentially hurt themselves or others because of whatever is being said or going on in his life. It's beyond politics, John. It's beyond humanity. We need to do a better job. And look, I think we're all guilty of attacking people on the other side, and I know I'm guilty of it. But my heart goes out to these people. My prayers are with him and his family. I know him very, very well, and he's a friend of mine. And I can't even express how sorry I feel for him and his family and his children. He's got children, which I know sometimes people forget in this business. So, I hope that the media leaves him alone and lets him get the help that he clearly needs in this troubled time.
Corey Lewandowski, we're going to end on that note. Thank you for being with us. And read Corey's new book that is just coming out tomorrow. You want to order it, you can get it on Amazon or your favorite bookstore. Trump America First, The President Succeeds Against All Odds. Going to be his number 3 New York Times bestseller. Corey Lewandowski, thanks for being with us, Corey. As always, we'll see you tomorrow.